friends and vinyl community. It's Brian from Brian's Vinyl Records, and I'm here to talk about my September 2022 vinyl haul. So I'm going to start with some new releases and reissues, work into some other stuff I found, get to my Japanese presses, and then show you a few really awesome grails that I was able to pick up this past month. So let's get started with new releases. There were a lot of really awesome releases in the month of September that I was super looking forward to. Couldn't wait. We'll start here with this one. This is Ozzy Osbourne's Patient Number 9. I picked up the indie exclusive, which comes on this kind of purple vinyl. It's really good, really cool purple vinyl. And yeah, I was trying to get the Target version, which would be a red with smoke, black smoke vinyl, but any of the Targets in my area, they just didn't have any. They didn't seem to get their stock of new releases for that particular date. And it took about 2 weeks before I ended up seeing them actually in Target. So I just decided to go with the independent version because that was my second favorite of the colors that they put out. I personally dig this album. It's got some awesome appearances from Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton, Tony Iommi, just really good stuff. And then, of course, Zakk Wylde is back with Ozzy on this album as well. I dig it. I think it's good. It's a fun album. It's Ozzy. Nothing to go wrong with on that. The other big new release I was super pumped about was Megadeth's The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. Pick this one up. This is just straight black vinyl on it. It is fantastic. This reminds me of thrash metal right here. They did an awesome job on this. I've loved the last two albums they've put out, and so, but this is good. If you want to look at it like Dystopia, which they put out in 2016, that would be akin to your Countdown to Extinction, Euthanasia type style, with some good, thrash in there, along with some melodic stuff. This is akin to that Rust in Peace era where they're just kicking ass on guitars and just great stuff. Loved it. This is the deluxe version that came with the lenticular cover on it. And it came with an extra 7-inch of the lead single in there as well. Great album. Really, really happy with it. Another brand new release that came out I was looking really forward to is this one here. This is Michelle Branch, The Trouble with Fever. Been a fan of Michelle Branch since she came out back in 2001. Saw her play live at the Fine Line here in Minneapolis. Saw her a few more times after that. Really, really dug her stuff. She kind of, was off the radar for quite some time. Came out with her album Hopeless Romantic. I believe that came out in 2018. This is her next follow-up, and it is fantastic. She did a great job with this. Just a fun album. Standard black vinyl. This I got from her directly on her website. Very good stuff. Highly recommend. All right, let's look at some... Oh, I got a couple more new releases. We'll start here with this one. This is Nikki Lane's brand new album, Denim and Diamonds. A lot of people commenting on how this looks like a Rod Stewart cover. Very true. Same look and style, a little different, obviously, but same style. Great album. Nikki Lane is fantastic. If you've never listened to her, highly recommend it. Alt country, great stuff. Highly recommend her. But Denim and Diamonds, Nikki Lane, great stuff. And then I picked up, this isn't exactly brand new, but it's new this year from the band. This is Murder by Death. Spellbound is the name of the album. The color is this really cool green color. A great album. Love it. I think that they did a phenomenal job with this album. They are really kind of a folky rock band. The lead singer changed his voice midway through their recording to kind of give it more of a Johnny Cash type sound. So imagine a Johnny Cash singing more rock, folk rock tunes, and then you'll get kind of what this is. They usually do themed albums, so they'll take a particular theme, and every song on the album will be written towards that theme or story. And yeah, they're really good. Recommend checking them out. I just stumbled across them one day. I think I got a couple albums for free from them and really enjoyed it. and so been following him ever since. All right, let's talk about some of the awesome reissues that came out, and you've got to start with this one here. This is the big one. Alice in Chains Dirt finally gets a deluxe reissue. I shouldn't say deluxe, a reissue of this album. MLV put one out several years back, and it sounds great. This is done by the group and their record label Columbia, and 2 vinyl pressing, and my God, it sounds fan-freaking-tastic. I put it up against the music on vinyl version, and this one blows it out of the water. The sound stage, the separation of instruments, the drums on this are absolutely fantastic. I can't be any happier. I was not going to buy this album because I have the MLV version, and the MLV version sounds phenomenal. But then I heard the reviews, and I had to go get it. I went and grabbed it. Super glad I did. Only complaint is it's a double LP, and they put it in a single jacket. I think it would have been better if they put a gatefold on it. Understand why they maybe didn't because of price, but you're paying $30-some for this album anyway. I think a gatefold would have been better. Pick this one out, which just came out in September. This is a reissue of Elvis Costello, the Juliet letters with the Brodsky Quartet. This is Elvis Costello and classical music combined together. It's really good. If you're into that kind of sound and stuff, I recommend checking this out. I think it's fantastic. It's done really well. It's great for dinner music, great for background music. Just Elvis Costello continues to just try anything and do anything, any genre, whatever he can, and this is no exception. I believe this came out in the 90s originally, and it was something I'd never heard before, but picked it up, music on vinyl, did the pressing, and it's really good. Really good. Here's a reissue that I picked up. This is a phenomenal album that doesn't get the praise it should. It's overlooked by the 2 predecessing albums, mostly because this one came out at a time when the music scene was changing. This is Dangerous Toys, Pissed. Phenomenal album, right up there with the first 2, if not better than at least number 2. This is a great album. This is one that came on a really cool, kind of a reddish orange wax. It's more red, but there's tints of orange in there, so it's really good. Highly recommended. It says on here red vinyl. Great stuff. Gatefold sleeve, well done. Okay, so next up, here's one that has really got a lot of people talking in the vinyl community, and rightly so. This is the 2018 remix of Pink Floyd's Animals album. So Animals is an album I really enjoy, but it isn't one of my top ones, so I didn't know if I really wanted to pick this up. So recently I said, you know what, I'm going to get this when it comes out. So I pre-ordered this album, and I ended up giving my original copy of Animals to one of my neighbors who was getting into vinyl and likes Pink Floyd. And I decided it's just not one I pull out very often. If I usually go Pink Floyd, I'm typically going to pick out Dark Side of the Moon or The Division Bell. Those are my 2 favorite Pink Floyd albums. But I did want to have a copy of this, and so I figured I would try this. And oh my God, this sounds incredible. I was sitting here working and listening to this in the background, and when the song Sheep comes on and the piano starts playing, it literally felt like it was dancing all over the room in here, and I was just floored. The soundstage on this is incredible. The remix is just insanely good. I love this version of Animals, and I am not sad that I gave up my 70s press of the album. I know that's sacrilege to a lot of Pink Floyd people, but you know what? I'll never probably pick that one up again, because if I want to hear this album, I'm going with this one. It, to me, is that good. And so I'm happy with it. I think this is incredibly well done. This was mastered by James Guthrie, Joel Plante, and Bernie Grundman. Joe Plant, and Bernie Grundman, and it is awesome. Just awesome. Super, super well done. All right, now let's get into some of other reissues that came out. Starting with this one, this is Randy Travis's Storms of Life, and Music on Vinyl put this out, and here you'll notice what they're doing now is adding this little sticker on the outside of the albums. I think Eventually they'll put them on the back cover, but because of everything that has gone down with them, they just printed up a bunch of stickers. And you can see here, this one comes from the analog master, goes to the digital file, and then gets cut on their analog cutting board. What that means, I can't even tell you. But either way, this sounds absolutely great. A really solid album from Randy Travis. I believe this is his debut album, and it sounds incredible. So super happy to pick this up. This was just released in September. I got the email, I made the pre-order, and it sounds awesome. So well done. Here's another one that came out at the very end of September, and this is the last of my reissues, and this is a big one. George Michael, Older is the album. It was put on double LP. This features the hit single Fast Love. For me, that song has a very special place. The version I like is the summer jazz mix that is on the single for Fast Love. It is something that in college, a friend of mine, we would always pop that on before a test to get us pumped up and ready to take the test. It's just something we did. It was fun. And so that always has a special place for me. This album itself, though, 1996, I believe it came out. Fan-freaking-tastic album. It's his third solo album. It is really good. I highly recommend getting it. I went out and bought the CD. I've had that for a while, and when this came up for pre-order, I had to get it, and so glad I did. It's fantastic. Black Wax, great stuff. George Michael, Older. The next three I want to show you are from local artists. All three of them out are two of them from the same artist in Illinois, and the other one from an artist in Alabama. We'll start with this gentleman here. This is Reanimation, featuring Michael Shanahan. Michael has been instrumental for me in getting my album put onto vinyl, and all of his help, his guidance, and everything was truly appreciated. This is one of his latest releases. I think this is actually his latest release, A Fear of Falling. It's prog rocky, really good. It's fantastic. It sounds awesome. This one comes on kind of like a milky white vinyl. And I also got from him The Ghost of the Muse, one of his older albums, and another just really fantastic one, black vinyl for this one. Really well done. He's got a reissue of one of his albums coming out on vinyl in around next February, and I highly recommend that. The person who did the mastering on the Fear of Falling and the new reissue is the same person that I used for my mastering on my album, and he does an absolutely fantastic job. Makes everything sound just spectacular. Super happy with him. And so yeah, I can't wait to hear that version, because I have the CD of that album, which was mixed by someone else, and so I'm very much looking forward to hearing the new mastering by Mr. Scott, because it's going to sound great. This next one here is a local country artist by the name of Chris Garrison, and this is Chris Garrison and the Blackbirds, Carnival. So I picked this up because one of the gentlemen in one of the final groups that I am in, who has purchased several albums from me and also bought my album from me, is the bass player in this band, and he had a few of his albums left to sell. It's country music. It's really good. Chris does a great job writing songs, and just a fun listen to. So this is Carnival by Chris Garrison and the Blackbirds. Good stuff. They're out of, I believe, Huntsville, Alabama. All right, let's get into some of the stuff I picked up this week other than new releases and reissues. The first one, this is a Goodwill find, and normally at Goodwill I don't find anything of value. Luckily I came across this and super pumped about it. This is the Cowsills. So if anything, anyone who has seen the movie Dumb and Dumber, the scene where Lloyd is just dreaming about he and Mary getting together features the song The Rain, the Park, and Other Things. They didn't put it on the Dumb and Dumber soundtrack. I don't think. I don't remember it being on there. And I had to hunt it down, and I found it on this album on CD when I was in high school. And so I saw this sitting there and I was like, holy crap. Now it was just dirty and gunky, and it, it had a bunch of hairline scratches and everything else in it. But I figured I'd take it home, clean it up anyway, just because. And it cleaned up very nicely. There's definitely some surface noise on the album, but when it's playing the music, you don't hear a whole lot of it, and it's just a fun listen. 60s band. A lot of people say they inspired the Partridge Family Band. Pennies, Saving Your Pennies for a Rainy Day was another hit for them off this album, and just, I love it. So super happy to pick this up at $2. Couldn't pass it up at the Goodwill. Next up is an album by the Drive-By Truckers. This is their latest release. It is called Welcome to Club 13. Listened to this morning, really enjoyed it. Trying to, expand my Drive-By Truckers. I really only had the albums that Jason Isbell was part of, and then I picked up Southern Rock Opera on recommendation and thought I'd try this one out next. Got a good deal on this, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Southern rock music, country rock music, good stuff. Oh, here's a reissue that came out earlier this year, and I finally picked this up. It might have come out last year, actually. This is Saigon Kicks' debut album called self-titled Saigon Kick, and it comes on it's a purple vinyl, really pretty vinyl, and yeah, great album. Did a good job on this one. Released by Atlantic, and I believe it might have been released by Real Gone Music put this out in a conjunction with Atlantic. They did a great job. Sounds great. Now have this album and The Lizard, which is a phenomenal album as well from Saigon Kick. I found this one for sale, third party on Amazon, and this one I just don't see very often. It's been in my wish list for quite some time, and it just popped up, and I was like, oh, the price was really good, and I decided to go ahead and pick it up. This is Melody Gardot and her album Currency of Man, and another fantastic, this is smooth jazz with a little bit of soul infused in it too. Just really phenomenal singer, great artist, and super pumped to pick up the vinyl of this album. It's awesome listen. Her stuff is just real good, chill, relax, and just have a good time music. Next up, I picked up an album by Theory of the Dead Man that I hadn't had yet. This one, what is this called? I can't even remember. Theory of a Dead Man. I won't be able to read this, I guarantee it. Wake Up Call is the name of the album. I like it. I think it's a great album. It's not one of their better albums, but it's a fun album. Enjoy it. Happy to have picked it up. So, Theory of a Dead Man. Next up, this is awesome. Super excited to have this. So many people were talking about this, and my wife and I sat down to dinner one day and put it on, and we were just having a blast listening to this. This is Now That's What I Call Yacht Rock. This is volume 1. There is a volume 2, but it's not in print right now, so hard to find. And as you know, when it's not in print, people charge astronomical prices. It's a really cool kind of it's got a blue streak here, but I don't have any other real blue in there. But it's a cloudy vinyl. Really cool. Sounds great. Has some awesome tracks on it. You can see a couple there. And this is just a real fun album. Yacht rock music. We were amazed at how many of the tunes we actually remembered as they were playing. Really good. Next up, I finally picked up a copy of Eddie Vedder's Ukulele Songs on vinyl. I've had the CD for a long time. I just hadn't pulled the trigger on the vinyl. It dropped to a really nice price on Amazon, so I decided to go ahead and pick it up. It's a fun, really good album from Eddie Vedder, something different. Ukulele songs, obviously, and really enjoy this one. So highly recommended, especially if you like Eddie's voice. He does a great job on this one. Next up, another one that dropped in price, and I just decided to pick it up. This was from an online auction, and super happy to grab it. This is The Social Network. Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails and Atticus Ross have been doing tons and tons of soundtrack scores, and they just do phenomenal work, and this is no exception. So I finally added this collection. It's been on my want list for a while, and I found one for a really good price. Decided I needed it and picked it up, and there you go. Good stuff. Next up is an album I've been looking for for a little while, and only because of the people who are involved in it. This is the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. This is All Systems Go, which features Mark Slaughter and Dana Strum from the band, of course, Slaughter. This is pre-Slaughter, right before they started working on their own album. They teamed up with Vinnie Vincent to create this one. Fun album, pretty good stuff, and you know, Mark Slaughter, I love listening to him sing, so great stuff. Happy to have found that as well. Last month I got my Japanese pressing of this album. This month I got my 2003 remaster version of the album. This is AC/DC's Blow Up Your Video. So I've now gotten the original mix, the 2003 mix, and my Japanese versions of that. Awesome album. Super pumped about that. Next up, I found this at my local store, a used section. This is Halloween 5 soundtrack. So I'm trying to get most of the Halloweens. I need 3 and 4 still. Otherwise, I have them. 6 and up have not had vinyl issues. So hopefully, Death Waltz will put out versions of those on vinyl. That would be really cool. Great album, of course. And this one is on orange wax. Love the Halloween soundtracks. I think that Carpenter does a phenomenal job with those. All right. Now we're getting to Japanese pressings, and I picked up some killer stuff this month. We'll start with Motley Crew, Shout at the Devil with Obi. Super pumped about this. Just an awesome album, and this sounds spectacular. Next one, Van Halen, 1984. This sounds amazing. They did a great job with this one on the Japanese press. A big one here, Van Halen, OU812. It's hard to find the Sammy stuff on anything these days, but to get a Japanese press with the Obi, that was pretty awesome. So happy about that. Next up, we have Black Sabbath, The Mob Rules. Dio fronting Black Sabbath here. The second album they did with him it's awesome. I love this album. I like this one actually better than I do Heaven and Hell, which some people think is sacrilege, but I do. I think this is a better album, and super pumped to have picked that up. Trying to finish up my AC/DC Japanese pressings. I've got If You Want Blood, You Got It with Obi Strip. This is a live album and a fun live album, really good stuff. So pumped to have that with Obi Strip as well. And that is my Japanese section for the month of September. We'll close things out with 1, 2, 3 of my grails that I picked up. We'll start here. This is AC/DC's High Voltage. This is the UK cover only. The only one who got this cover was the UK. And I went right to the UK to get a copy of this. The price was right. The shipping amount was perfect. I was able to get it in here for less than what I would pay anyone who sells it in the United States. So super pumped about that. So AC/DC's High Voltage UK edition. Next up, this was an exciting get, is Slaughter's The Wildlife. Now I do have the reissue that's coming out on order. We don't know when that's coming, obviously, because of pressing times, hopefully sooner rather than later. But this came up for a really good price, so I pulled the trigger and bought it. I mean, this was probably half of what you normally see it for online these days, so I got a really good deal, I think. And so picked up Slaughter's The Wildlife, original pressing. Super pumped about that. This one's a Venezuelan pressing, which can be hit or miss at times. That one's pretty good. And last but certainly not least, this one I never thought I'd be able to afford to get in my collection because the price just keeps going up and up and up, and it keeps getting harder and harder and harder to find, and that is Rush Roll the Bones. This is what really introduced me to Rush back in the 90s when they were all over the hard rock radio scene. This album came out and Roll the Bones was played all the time, and I loved it. And, you know, then of course you got into the Tom Sawyer, which was played all the time, and all that stuff from the early albums. But this one was the one I really wanted, and I've been trying to find it forever on vinyl, and I finally found it for a price I was willing to pay, which was, again, way less than what it goes for online nowadays, and super excited to have it. This is the 2015 remaster version that they did, 200 gram vinyl, and it sounds absolutely insanely good. and I'm super pumped to have this in my collection now. So there you have it. That is my September 2022 vinyl haul. I've already got a couple things ready for my October edition that will be coming up. Some really cool stuff. There's some good new releases that are coming out in October as well, including Taylor Swift and some other stuff that I'm really looking forward to. So I'm excited to share those with you as they come in. That's it for this month, though. If you liked it, let me know what you did. Thumbs up in the video. Leave a comment below. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. Love to have you along for the ride. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep spinning vinyl, friends.